So I wanted to introduce this next project with a lot of love and admiration for the work that has happened in the past. So I first want to say, if you've been part of the network for a while, you likely have encountered the diverse text set work that Erin Brown and her team really worked on, including partnerships with researchers in the past. There was tons of coaches working on this work. And also we had a team doing the SLIC work, which was the science and social studies work around content development and coaching. So both of those projects have kind of merged, and my dear friend and early literacy task force member, Melissa Wing, has sort of taken the reins and moved this work forward in a really accessible way. And I think today you're going to walk away excited about how easy it's going to be for you to use the resources that they really have combined and made readily available for you. So I want to honor all the work that's happened in the past on this and where it's going in the future. And with that, I will welcome Melissa, April, Wendy, and Danny to our stage to cover our Reaching Every Reader project.
Thank you. Thank you for that great introduction. And if you are part of the team and you are in this room or you are in another room at a region, if you would stand up, because this is our team. So we have Dana Anderson, Cindy Jamrog, Sarah Jones, Heather Phillips, April Seeley, Wendi Vogel, and then myself. So this is the team that worked on this project. So I want to give kudos to them for everything that they did. It was a lot of hard work going back and forth about what we wanted and changing things as we went along the way. So kudos to them. They did a lot of work on this project. So just take a moment. This is the Reaching Every Reader. Michelle already gave a little shout out to the original project, and we want to do the same thing because that was a lot of work and that was over a couple years. So this is what we looked at. It was inspired by that culturally diverse text project that happened in 2020. And it was coaches, ISD consultants, and literacy leaders that came together with a shared commitment so that we could have text that kids could encounter where they could see themselves, they could see their communities, and the wider world reflected. So those windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. How are we doing that for all the kids in the state of Michigan? So then we did a pilot phase, and we wrote some units and went out and practiced those. I know one of my coaches helped do that. Stand up if you were one of the people, one of the coaches that helped with the Diverse Text Set project and actually coached around it in a room. So there's a couple. So we thank you as well. So it is based on the work of Goldie Muhammad, Cultivating Genius, and Unearthing Joy. And we had these books, and we actually had the pleasure of Goldie Muhammad coming to one of our quarterly meetings and speaking, and then looking at the lesson plans that were done for the Diverse Text Set project. So this is the original group. You'll see some people are the same, some people are different. But we want to just give them a big shout out and a thank you. So thank you to all of that hard work that they did. So these are the books for the Diverse Text Set project. And we are going to show you later on today where those units are now housed. We have gone through and cleaned them up, made sure links worked, videos worked. We did all of that. So they're all going to be accessible in one location. But I'm saving that for the very end, so that you don't go there yet, because I'm excited about it, and I know you are too, as well. So these are, there's 21 books altogether that were done for the Diverse Text Set project. So here's a slide of those, some of those, and then here is the rest of the books. So you'll see a lot of really great familiar titles. Some you might not know that much about, but they are all great books, and there are lesson plans for you to readily use with your teachers. So we relaunched as Reaching Every Reader. So this is our little symbol. Thanks to Heather Phelps. She worked on that and created that for us, because that was our purpose, was to how are we reaching every reader in the state of Michigan through read-alouds. So this isn't a science-inspired collection. The Diverse Text Set Project collection was inspired by social studies. It was connected to social studies standards. We decided to branch out and work with science inspired. So there are 13 books all together in this set. And everyone got one, so let's say yay to Mesa for providing the funds to do that. Yay. Okay, so one of the things we wanted to make sure we did was we wanted to expand access to STEM read-alouds, because we know that a lot of places, kids aren't getting science and social studies. So this is not to replace science and social studies instruction by any means, but it is a way to build background knowledge for our students and to be a launch into units that they're doing for science. We also want to be very supportive of inclusive instruction. So how are we making sure there are those windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors for all our students across the state of Michigan? And we broaden our representation. So we really thought about who was not represented in some of the books we had and how do we represent them. Because we really need to make sure that we're reading books that are representative of the kids in our classroom, but we also need to think about who is not represented in our classroom and how do we expose students to those ideas as well. All right, so why read-alouds? There are a couple reasons. One is it really does build foundational literacy. You can read this story over and over for different purposes. It's also a way we know to strengthen vocabulary and comprehension and provide windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors for all of our students. We also looked at this. How many people remember, raise your hand if you remember, when Tanya Wright talked at the Summer Institute about how many coaching cycles were spent, or what was the percentage of coaching cycles spent around read-alouds? It was 4%. It is so easy to do read-alouds in a classroom. Everybody's doing them. How do we help people upgrade them? And it takes time to plan these. We can tell you, as the group who did it, it's a lot of work. But it's well worth it when you get the biggest bang for your buck. So we really looked at the essential practices, specifically number 2, the read-alouds, and said, okay, how can we help coaches and teachers do more impactful read-alouds in the classroom? So what we built was a user-friendly resource library. All of the lesson plans are in one location now. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a secret, but you can't do anything with it yet. Inside the cover of your book, you'll see a QR code. That QR code takes you to all the lesson plans that are available. So it's an easy way to get there. Okay, nobody go there yet. You'll ruin the rest of our presentation if you do. Okay. We made sure they were aligned to the essentials and that they had that focused, science focus. So we looked at the cross-cutting concepts. We looked at the pursuits. We looked at the essentials, and we looked at the dimension framework, the NGS, I can never say it right, okay? The science standards. Huh?
Good job.
Good job, all right, thank you. That's Wendi, our science consultant. All right, so then who does this support? Literacy coaches. So many coaching opportunities for you. This is a way to go in and build relationships with people at the beginning of the year. Hey, can I come do a read aloud? And you're gonna model what that really looks like. And it doesn't get you in for just one day, because we want people to, the lesson plans are built for you to go revisit the book multiple times. So it's easy for you to get in, okay? It's also, for you as coaches, that can lead to a coaching cycle. How do we do something around vocabulary? How are we improving comprehension? One of those ways really is to use a read aloud. So you can use these as part of your coaching cycle as well. Okay. It's for elementary teachers, general and special education. So once you've done this, we hope that they'll go to that library or ask you to say, hey, I want to do another book. There is a template in the folder for you to use as well. So the template we used, you can start building those with your teachers, because we need teachers to do this work as well. For STEAM or STEM, if you have a STEM or a STEAM teacher, that's a great way to do a cycle, coaching cycle with them. It's not just regular education teachers. Every teacher in a building can use a coaching cycle. And we also put in long-term subs. We have a lot in our county of long-term subs. Our coaches are working with them. They're with kids for long periods of time. How do we help them do the best job for the kids? So those are just who it supports. Okay, so now what we'd like you to do is we're going to give you 5 minutes for you to read and explore your book. Okay? Because then we're going to have you do some stuff around that. Okay? All right. You should have a couple things at your table. You will see that you'll need for the next portions. You will see a pack of cards that there are 2 different packs. There's an identity. These are the pursuit cards. So everybody should have a pack of those. They're in the middle of your table. If you don't have it, grab those. You also have a set of the cross-cutting concept cards. Okay. You should also have a lesson plan, just the front page. Everybody should have Ada's violin. It's just a 1-page document, and we'll use that in a little bit. But I'm going to turn this over to April. She's going to do a little bit of learning for you around the pursuits.
All right, for those that don't know me, I am April Seeley, and I am a literacy coach out of St. Clair County, RESA. I have been working on this project from the start, so some of those original partnerships with Dr. Goldie Muhammad, writing the lesson plans, supporting coaches and teachers. I've also done a couple book studies with teachers in my district around this learning. So what I want to do right now is I want to talk you through the pursuit cards that were created. So that first ring here, the first says identity. But I just want to give you a couple minutes to peruse them. And then we're going to dive deep into them, and I'm going to explain the different sections and the purpose for those sections. So take about 2 minutes to explore those. All right, so let's kind of take a few minutes to kind of look through these. Let's talk around these. I just want to take so I can kind of gauge the room. How many of you are aware of Dr. Goldie Muhammad's pursuits? How many of you have read Cultivating Genius, Unearthing Joy? Okay, thank you. So these pursuit cards, and I got yelled at because I need to stand, but I am a wanderer, so I'm going to try to stand here. These pursuit cards were created off of Dr. Goldie Muhammad's framework. And the framework was designed to help teachers think about their instruction in terms of being more humanitizing, equitable, and engaging. And it focused on those learning pursuits. The first, it was identity, skills, intellect, and criticality. And then she had Unearthing Joy, and that's where that other pursuit was added. So the pursuits are important because they're focused on supporting the whole child through that lens of identity so that they can see themselves in others in meaningful ways. They build real-world understanding and knowledge and thinking through intellectualism. They encourage students to question inequities and think critically about the world. So that's kind of through that criticality pursuit. And then in thinking about fostering engagement, curiosity through that joy pursuit. So when we use all 5 of these pursuits together, we are creating a more inclusive, relevant, and empowering instruction for our students. Okay, so how can I use the pursuits? Like, how do I use them? So we created these pursuits as a way cards to help you with either thinking about your instruction or your curriculum for those teachers or maybe even teams that you're supporting. And then asking those questions and thinking about, are these pursuits in that instruction? Are they in the curriculum? Which pursuits are missing? Which pursuits are we supporting more of? And how do we make that more balanced around the 5 pursuits? So thinking not just about skills, but identity building, not just about content, but meaningful knowledge building, right? And not just understanding, but more that criticality and questioning. So in these cards, you'll see at the front is the pursuit. And then there's a beautiful quote from Dr. Gholdy Muhammad on the front. Okay. And then when you flip them over, there's a brief description of the pursuit there, and that's taken like as a summarizing statement from either Dr. Gholdy Muhammad's Cultivating Genius book or the Unearthing Joy book. The next section is the teacher thinking section. And this was created to support you in thinking about how you might plan your own instruction, like in this case, like around a read aloud. Like what would be the question, what question should I ask myself to begin thinking about this pursuit in relationship to the text or the curriculum? Okay. The next section, the looks and sound like. This is a great part because it can be used as a reflection tool, really provides some practical observable indicators to help you think about, is this happening? Is the pursuit here? Is it not here? But we really can use it for backwards planning or to ensure clarity, but we can also use it as a progress monitoring tool. Like, how are the students doing with this pursuit? How do I need to, if not, they're not right, how do I need to adjust my instruction? And then the questions to spark students' thinking portion. These are questions that were very generic. You're going to want to right? Who's your character? What are you talking about? What science concept? But they're questions to get you thinking about what kinds of questions you should be asking when you're planning for the read aloud. And then those questions can also not just be used as read aloud discussion, but also can be transformed into a writing response question. So the hope is that these cards can help guide you and support you in planning, and that your instruction becomes more genius focused, right? And that we are supporting our students becoming capable, valued, and empowered within our instruction, that they're part of it. So right now we want to give you some time to take your read aloud and the pursuit cards, and we want you to just generate some questions that would pertain to the read aloud that you have in front of you. I will say it's easier from experience to start with those questions that are centered around joy or skills. The more difficult ones are those deeper thinking questions like intellectualism, criticality, okay? The fun, like joy. So maybe since you have thought partners around your table, you might want to take some time to think about those deeper understanding or deeper thinking ones and then talk through them with your partner. So right now, we're just going to give you a few moments to go ahead and generate some questions with the book that you chose. We're going to segue into the science, connecting these read-alouds to science. I will say just a little, share one thing with you. I have been using a lot of the curriculum or the ELA resource that is on those lists is very knowledge building. In my school district, we've been looking at data. We've noticed a shift in our literacy data or narrative data, right? So this might be a way. We've kind of been talking around like, how can we use read-alouds to kind of connect to that heavy knowledge building curriculum? So just an idea of how you might want to look at these, in my experience. Okay, Wendi.
Good afternoon. My name is Wendi Vogel. I am the science consultant at Kent ISD, representing a lot of really great science consultants across the state. So you have a second set of cards because we know that we can use read-alouds for multiple purposes when we read at different times. So you have a set of cross-cutting concept cards. So we're going to go through the same protocol that you just did with the pursuit cards with the cross-cutting concept cards. So I'm going to give you just a minute to explore these in the same way you explored those pursuit cards, thinking about how you might utilize these to coach around those cross-cutting concepts in science. So first of all, make sure you know what those are, because those may or may not be new to you. And then second of all, think about how you might utilize those in the read aloud that you have in front of you. So we'll give you a few minutes to breeze through these a second. All right, thank you. Okay, so you had a few minutes to take a look at those. I do want to read you from the K-12 Framework for Science Education, which is the foundation of the research behind the science standards, on what these cross-cutting concepts are meant to do. So I'm going to read that to you. The cross-cutting concepts provide students with connections and intellectual tools, intellectual, sounds familiar, that are related across the differing areas of disciplinary content and can enrich their application of practices and their understanding of core ideas. So when we're thinking about these, they really are to bridge over large-scale ideas. Now, this particular group really wanted to ensure that you were using them with a science lens. So it's great to find some of these cross-cutting. Can't hear? Okay. Thank you. I'm so used to not a mic thing, right? We're teacher loud voice people. So we want to make sure that when we use them using the cross-cutting concepts that we're really digging into the intent behind the science of the cross-cutting concepts. So cause-effect is something you're going to see in math and literacy and social studies and every other thing that you ever do, along with patterns. But really leaning into those questions from that science lens is what these read-alouds were intended to do. All right, so let's take a peek at these for just a minute and take a look at the cards themselves. You're going to see the same pattern that you saw in the pursuits cards. So you will see some information at the front. I want to just highlight on the left side of that back front card. You will see some more resources that you can dig into a little bit more deeply. And I want to give a shout out to Laura Chambliss and Minna Terrell, who created these cards, St. Clarissa. And so these are theirs, and the pursuit cards were created based on those cards as well. All right, so taking a look at the pattern in the cards, a little bit of a dual meaning there, you'll see that you've got the pictures on the one side, and then what you will see is a definition from the framework on what patterns is intended to be within the science standards, and then a series of questions that you might use within a read aloud if that particular cross-cutting concept seems to be forwarded in that read aloud. And then there's also things like sentence stems that could be used for writing prompts or student discourse, okay? On the right-hand side, this is a little bit different than the pursuit cards, but you'll see on the right-hand side back part of that, you'll see that the parts of the matrix from our framework is there too. And that provides you the opportunity to kind of see what's appropriate in K2 versus 3-5. We want to make sure that developmental level that we're using with kids is appropriate. And then you'll see that in a second when we kind of go through each of these, okay? All right, I want to kind of talk through these a little bit. I want to just mention a couple of things, right? We've had a lot of science going on in the last 24 hours in the state of Michigan. Both Mother Nature and Mother Earth have been waving flags at us, right? So we've had thunderstorm with 1-inch hail. We've had northern lights in the UP. We have had a solar halo. We've had earthquakes, yes, 2 of them in the last week. We have had, I know, it's been an incredible, we've had wildfires in the northern Michigan too. It's been kind of nuts around these parts, right? So science is everywhere. Kids are going to notice it everywhere when they go on the playground, etc. So it's really kind of fun to sort of pull these into whatever they're doing inside those walls of the classroom too. All right, I don't think I'm going to go over the patterns and the cause effect a little bit because I think you guys kind of know what those are. But I do want to kind of dig in just a touch on each of the rest of them because they might be something that you aren't as familiar with. So the scale, proportion, quantity cards, these really have to do with time scales and thinking about relevant sizes, etc. And those pieces are going to be it's going to be really interesting thinking about your developmental level with your kids. You want to think about math levels when you talk about what you're going to use if you forward this cross-cutting concept. All right, we'll keep, and then systems and system models. This is thinking about how related objects work together. That could be engineering or science. Energy and matter. It's pretty tough not to find energy and matter almost everywhere. So when you're looking at a read-aloud, you want to kind of think about, does the read-aloud forward energy and matter, or is that something that's just sort of in the background? But it's very hard to find anything without energy involved. All right. Lastly, structure, function. The kids love this, right, when they get into animals, and we all love animals in elementary. That world is pretty abundant, so thinking about the structures and what they do with those and why they're purposed for that way, sometimes that hits in engineering and sometimes that hits in science side too. All right, stability and change, that earthquake we just had, right? Actually, almost all of the events we've had over the last 24 hours have been a really big part of that stability and change piece. Thinking about the conditions that affect the change is going to be sort of thinking about that. I also want to mention too, most of the things that you will see in K5 in the science standards are going to be patterns and cause effect. K1, that's all you'll see. And then when you get 2 through 5, it's going to depend on what they need to cover within that content, okay? All right, go ahead. So now we're gonna do the same thing that you did with the pursuit cards. You're gonna take a little minute, you're gonna take some time in your read aloud thinking about those CCCs and what you might ask kids about or do a writing prompt around or something that you put on a Post-it note that you could put right in there as you're reading so that you could ask that to students or kids or coach around it as a coach.
We are going to move on because we want to show you the read aloud guides. We intentionally did not call these read aloud lesson plans. We called them guides. So you can see there are the 13 books. So everybody on your table, you have a part of the lesson guide. We just printed the first 2 pages because that's all you really need if you're having this book on your lap. We did that intentionally. If you've looked at the playbooks, you'll notice that these look a lot like the playbooks. They're set up the same way. So we can correct mistakes if we find them because we already did find a mistake in the pursuit cards that you got. Bullet 5 is missing a word. You probably read it correctly. Because these ladies over here said, we read those and we didn't see that. So we read them many times, so thank you for your grace. We will get the cards fixed and they'll be posted. You'll just have to add the word, I think it's you to it, or what was the word? Make. Add the word make in there. So we looked at Ada's violin, so this is the one we're gonna show you. If you look at the lesson plan, so in here, this is what all of the lesson guides look like. These are the first 2 pages that you have. There's highlighted vocabulary. We looked at every bullet, and every bullet is addressed in the lesson guide. So you'll see the top is like a book overview. You'll see the book. You'll see a central theme or central themes. You'll see the dominant cross-cutting concept. And then you'll see that the initial read is about joy, identity, and vocabulary. And we changed that a little bit when we were working on this to only have before and after questions, not anything during, because Lester Laminette came to our ISD and he really talked about how much joy comes from read-alouds. So we want to make sure that joy, and if we ask a lot of questions during the read-aloud, that interrupts that joy, that first time hearing that story. But there are, on the next page, you'll see that there is revisiting. So you'll revisit for different things. Those revisits do not have to be the next day. It can be a week later. You can come back to this book. So you'll also see that there are extension activities, and you'll see on the left-hand side, the cross-cutting cards and the pursuit cards are linked there for you. You can also, at the bottom, there's a link that says click here for revisiting words. So here's a page about central themes. So this is revisiting, and we have this on all of ours about pronouncing it using a routine that for promoting it. And then you'll see in here, there are pictures to use that are referenced, so you don't have to go out and look. Kids will want to know where Paraguay is. So we put those pieces in place. If you keep going, here are revisiting vocabulary. So here's a violin, so it talks about the picture, you have pictures, or you'll see a link to listen to the video or a violin play. Keep going. So all of these, you can keep scrolling. All of these are in there that a teacher can use as a slideshow to bring them up. And then here are other words, and then here's something on scale and proportion. So there's lots of other slides, but you don't have to print all of them. That's what I want to make sure you know. Those first 2 pages are really what you need to print, and then the rest is just reference for you. And if you keep going just a little bit farther, there's a slide for thematically and conceptually related books. So if you want to do a text set or themes that build upon them. Sometimes they are linked. They'll have a link to a video of that book. Sometimes there isn't one. So the lesson plans look a little different in those pages, but it's what makes them unique, is what makes them powerful. And you can add and do anything you want with these. They are view only, but if you download them and you find something that you think is really great video that helps, use it. This is just to get people started. So we want to thank you, and we are so happy that you are excited about the books.